Welcome back to my Duckburg toy box. I'm Professor Toybox. I've got Donald Duck with me, and today we're going to work on the next DuckTales story. In this story, Pete and the Weasels have stolen one of Gyro's inventions and are planning to do something bad with it. It's up to the player, of course, to stop them and destroy the machine. And so we're going to start over here at Gyro's house. And as we come into the editor, I'm going to put down our mission giver, and I wish we had a townsperson for Gyro Gear Loose, but since we don't, we're going to use Darkwing Duck. And I'm going to drop him down and open the logic menu and get into his properties right away and put him to sleep so he doesn't wander off. And now I've got time, I can scroll down and set the behavior that I want, which is to stand still. And now that we have him, we need a few creativitoys to set him up as a mission giver. And for that, we're going to need a radar marker. We're going to need a text displayer. And a dynamic trigger. And we'll start with the dynamic trigger since we're right here. And we're going to do a new actor connection. And I'm going to connect him up to Darkwing Duck. There we go. And we'll do the same thing for the radar marker. New actor connection. I wish it wouldn't spin the camera around like that. That can be kind of annoying. There we go. That's probably the hardest part of everything we're going to set up, is just connecting to that tiny townsperson. So for the radar marker under properties, I'm going to leave the beacon type to be a blue exclamation point because this is a side quest. Beacon location is going to be the connected actor, and this will be on by default when we come into the toy box. For the dynamic trigger, go under the properties. The target again will be the connected actor. And for the trigger distance, I'm going to set this to be 3. I want the player to be pretty close to him when it triggers him. I don't want it to trigger him when they're climbing up the pipe. And on the text displayer, duration 4, text style will be proposal, and all players is fine. Okay, on the dynamic trigger, we'll do a new logic connection when entered by player any. So when the player enters the area around Darkwing Duck, we'll trigger the text displayer, and I'm going to come down to the missions category, and he's going to say, I need your help. And on the text displayer, we'll do a new logic connection when the text proposal is accepted. We'll turn off the dynamic trigger because that isn't needed anymore. And on a new logic connection, when text proposal is accepted, we can turn off that radar marker. And so now we have our mission giver. And now we're going to come and set up the rest of the toys up on the roof. And I've already gotten a bit of a head start to save time. I've dropped down an enemy wave generator and a bunch of locators. And I've connected this up to those 5 locators. And I've got a few extra ones that you'll see what they're for in a little bit. There's one over here, there's one over here, and up on top of the building, in the middle of this building, there's one for Pete up there. And then down here on the street, I've set up another 4 locators and an enemy wave generator. So we'll go ahead and configure these. And again, all I did with these was just place them, and I did the new locator connection. And that'll save a little time. It's also not an exciting video just watching me hook up locators. So on this enemy wave generator in the street, I'm going to scroll down and look for the weasels. These guys. And I want 4 of them. And for the properties, the only things we need to change here are to set the generation delay to 0, and we'll disable the generation effects because the player's never going to see those anyway. And then on this one, we'll do the same thing. except I've got 5 locators, so I want 5 weasels. So we'll configure our wave, and once again scroll down, find the weasels. And I kind of wish this scrolled a little faster, but this list isn't too bad. It's when we get to the one for Pete that's going to be the problem. And 5 weasels. And the properties will be the same as we did below. Generation delay 0, disable generation effects. Actually, we can leave the generation effects on for this one because we're going to actually see those. If there's anything special it wants to do. And now we're going to need some additional toys. So we're going to need 3 radar markers. So we're going to need 1 up here. That'll be for Pete. We're going to need 1 over here. This will be for this locator. And 1 over here for this locator. And we're going to need a friend generator for Pete. So I'll put this over here next to that radar marker. We're also going to need a replayer to put the key down after we defeat Pete. So we'll put that in there. And let me just review my notes real quick. We've got the enemy wave generators, we got the radar markers, friendly wave generator, the replayer. We already have the sound generator and action enforcer that we put down earlier over at the money bin, so we can reuse those. The last creativity toy we need out of this drawer is going to be the target camera, because the radar markers are going to be blue, and unfortunately you don't see those until you're right on top of them, and we're going to be over at Gyro's house, so these won't show up. So I'm going to put this target camera right up here, about level with the top of that roof, and with the left edge of that building, and also with the right edge of that building. And I want it to look that way, so I'm going to connect it to that locator. I'll reuse that to save memory. We can point right down at this one. So for the target camera, since we're right here, we'll set the properties for that. Cut is fine for the start transition. I want to use a defined duration, so I'm going to turn that on. And I think 5 seconds should be enough. Follow is fine. Cut is fine. I'm going to change the player viewport to all players, so all players will see this. Glow through is fine. Camera target needs to be the connected locator, because that's where I want it to point. And the rest of these all look fine. So now the camera is set up and ready to go. Let's go ahead and drop down a couple more toys before we hook the rest of these up. So under the gameplay toys, we need this sidekick door. I'm going to put that right there. And coincidentally, the locking gate cage is right next to it. And I'm going to center it on top of that building. So that's perfect. Doesn't usually work out that way, so I like that. And under, the decorations drawer, yeah, reset that drawer on me. So I have to scroll over to the right a little ways to find the machine that I want to put inside this cage. That's the machine that Pete and the weasels stole. And this one comes from the Marvel Battleground set. I'm going to use this large lunar outpost crate. And I want that side facing out. So there we go. That looks good. Okay, while we're right here, we'll start with the radar markers. So we'll hook this one up first. And I'm going to do a new locator connection. We'll connect it to this locator. And on the properties for this, I'm going to set the beacon type to be a blue arrow. Beacon location needs to be the locator, and it's active as off by default, so that's good. For this radar marker, we'll do a new locator connection, and this isn't where the locator is going to go, but I put it out here away from that sidekick door a little ways because it makes it easier to select the two of them. And on the radar marker properties, for the beacon type, I'm going to use a blue ring. Beacon location, once again, is the locator, and active is off, so that's good. On this radar marker, we're going to do a new actor connection. I'm going to connect it up to this friend generator. So whatever that generates will be our connected actor. And for the radar marker properties, beacon type will once again be a blue arrow. Beacon location this time will be connected actor, and active is off. For the friend generator, I'm going to connect that to the locator that's up on top of this roof. That's where Pete will be. He'll be up here overseeing his operation. And then we're going to configure the wave for the friendly wave generator. And of course, this is a long list, and Pete is near the bottom. So it scrolls pretty slowly, unfortunately. And unfortunately, they didn't provide a way to scroll up and wrap around to the bottom of the list. So we have to kind of go little by little here. La 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 la. There he is. And I only need one of him, so the count is good. Under properties, once again, we only have one locator, so we don't need a random locator. Generation delay 0, disable effects on, and under the generated friend options, I'm going to set his behavior so that he is angry. Because by the time you get up there to him and you see him, you'll have already fought through the weasels and you're interfering with his plans, so he's not going to be a happy camper. For the replayer, we're going to use this to put down the key after we defeat Pete. So I set the interval to 0 for the playback interval. And I'm going to come out of Spark mode. And we'll step onto the replayer to get access to the menu in the lower right. Press B on my Wii U to start recording. And I have to step off to get back into the editor. And underneath the gameplay toys drawer is where we found the key. Hopefully it hasn't reset that drawer. And it didn't. Good. And I'm going to put the key over here on the other side of this door, the sidekick door. Exit out of the editor. Step back on the replayer to get the menu. Press B to stop recording. And A to clear. And only press A one time or you'll screw up the replayer. So that took the key back out. On the sidekick door, under the properties for this, I want to remove Pete when we toss him in here. Disable door after use is on. That's good. I only want to use this once. The detection level, we're going to set this to be 0. And you'll notice that turns on the little red target on there. We're not using sidekicks, so detection level 0 is how we need to set that in order to use it. The normal response chance, I'll put that at 10, so that's 100%, and we'll leave that at 0. So the normal response is the only response this sidekick door will generate. And the last thing we need to set up is this gate. And I'm going to come into the properties for that and set the parameter to remove the key when used. And that will save a little memory. Alright, so everything is set up over here and we're ready to connect all of the toys. So, the thing that's going to set off everything is the text displayer over here for our mission giver. And we've got a lot of toys to hook this up to, so we're going to be going back and forth a little bit. But on the text displayer, a new logic connection. When the text proposal is accepted, first thing I want to do is come over here to the enemy generators and generate the weasels. So we'll generate the wave. And then we need to do the same thing with the enemy generator that is in the street. So we'll generate that. And next we'll generate Pete. So we'll come to the text displayer, new logic connection, text proposal accepted. When that happens, we'll come up here to our friendly wave generator. And we'll generate that wave. And that'll put Pete up there on top of the roof. And now we'll turn on those new radar markers. We've already turned off the one over here. Oops, new logic connection on text proposal accepted. So we've already turned that one off for Darkwing Duck. We need to come over here and turn on the radar marker for Pete. And I also want to turn on the radar marker for the sidekick door, because that tells you what the player needs to do with Pete once they pick him up. So new logic connection on text proposal accepted. Come over here to this radar marker and turn that on. So that'll turn this on. And since those radar markers are blue, and the player is not going to see those all the way over here, that's why we have the camera. So the last thing we need to do with the text displayer on text proposal accepted is to come over to our camera and turn that on. And we'll activate that. And we've already set the properties so that after 5 seconds it'll automatically turn itself off. So that's good. And it'll be pointing at that locator over here, so the player will see everything that's going on the roof. And they've got a bit of a bird's eye view so they can get an idea of where this location is. And once they get closer, then the radar markers will turn on. Alright, so they climb up the pipe, they fight the weasels, they go up and grab Pete, and they toss him in the sidekick door. So this is the part that's going to kick off the next part of the mission. So on the sidekick door, we're going to do a new logic connection. And on normal response returned, we'll turn off the radar marker for this, because the player has already interacted with the door and they're done with that. And also on normal response returned, we'll turn off the radar marker for Pete. And technically that will be off, but there's no reason for that to be active since Pete doesn't exist anymore. The door will delete him after we throw him in. And on the sidekick door, we also want to turn on the radar marker over here. And we want to put down the key. So on the normal response returned, we'll come over to our replayer and play back. And that will drop the key over here next to the sidekick door. And that's the 4 things that has to do. So we're done with that. So then they pick up the key, they open the gate, and the last thing is when they destroy this crate. So we'll open the logic menu for the crate, and we'll do a new logic connection when broken or collected. We can turn off this radar marker because the mission is over. And also, when broken or collected, we'll come over to our sound generator that we put down in an earlier video. And we're going to play the music that tells the player that the mission's over, and that's under the musical category, fanfare. There we go. was about to swing the camera around because I couldn't figure out why I wasn't selecting that. Okay, and the last thing that needs to do is come over to our action enforcer, which we also put down in an earlier video, and we want to have all of the players celebrate. So at that point, the machine has been destroyed and we're good to go. So, I think that's everything. Let me just double check my notes. We've got all the properties set on everything. We've got all of the connections made. And the only thing left to do is to move these locators. So now that the connections are made, I can move this locator a little closer to this door so that the arrow shows up over the door. And I want to move this locator underneath the crate. Just like that, so that that radar marker will show up over top of that crate. And there we go. I believe we're ready to test this out. So we'll come on over here, back to Gyro's house. And we're going to need a way to get over there quickly, so I'm going to drop down a temporary vehicle, and I'll delete this before I save, or before we wrap this all up today. Probably offline. So now we got a car to get over there. And let's put Donald down right about over here. And before I play this mission, I'm going to go ahead and save my game. So I'm going to do this real quick, and then I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, I've saved my game, and I'm ready to test this out. So we're going to come on over here and climb up the pipe. And approach Darkwing Duck. He says, I need your help. We'll say continue. And now the camera is showing the weasels being generated. And we can kind of get an idea where that's at. And now we can come over to our car, hop on in, and get over there real quick. Gotta go save Duckburg. Oh, one more to go. I love Donald's temper tantrums. All right, climb on up. And whoa, more weasels. Oh, hey, I've never seen the parachute before. That is funny. That is funny. I love that. That is cool. You can always play this game and find something new. I love it. Okay, so we've got Pete. He's hopping mad, but hey, you're the one that caused all this trouble. And we toss him in. And there's our key. You can pick that up. Come on over here to the machine. Unlock the gate. And there's the radar marker over that. So now we can delete them or destroy the machine. And Donald has saved the day. So, that was a lot of fun. Well, next time we'll work on part 1 of the alien invasion story. Before I sign off for today, I want to thank you for watching, and a special thank you to all of my subscribers and followers. I appreciate your comments, and I do read each and every one. If you're not a subscriber yet and you love Disney Infinity, all you need to do is click the follow button on my blog or my picture in the lower right corner of this video. Then you won't miss a single one of my toy box projects. You'll also find floor plans and logic diagrams on my blog to help you build my toy boxes yourself, since we can't just download them anymore. At least that way you can get some new toy boxes to play in. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.